Good afternoon. Wow, this is a great turnout. Thank you for coming, and this is one of a few, many presentations that we all hold here. I think the topic is what's bringing everybody here today. I'll get right to it. I want to introduce to you Mandy Green. She is a master certified cognitive coach and certified brain longevity specialist through the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. Please welcome her, and we'll join in with her 13-minute routine.
Thank you all so much for having me. Can everybody hear me? Okay, wonderful. Well, I want to give you an amazing experience today. What if I told you that you could strengthen your brain just by changing the way you're breathing for 2 minutes? Now, I don't want you to change anything just yet, but I do want you to take a little self-audit and just notice your breath. Is the inhale longer than the exhale? Maybe you're out of breath. You were in a big hurry to get here. Maybe you've never noticed your breath before. That's okay too. Just notice. We're going to come right back to this. What I want to help you do today is make a few small adjustments that are going to get you a really big result. My dad used to say, small hinges swing big doors. So I want to be a small hinge in your life and help you make some small adjustments that'll yield some big results. Because I think especially in this community, we all know the statistics, right? Every 3 seconds, somebody is diagnosed with dementia. Every 3 seconds. But I have some good news. A lot of the things that you can do to strengthen your brain are part of what you're doing already. So for example, with the breathing, what if you extend the inhalation and allow it to touch the bottom of your lungs? And then allowing the exhalation that's happening already to finish to its end. So really extending the inhale that's already happening, allowing it to touch the bottom of the lungs, and then allowing the exhale that's already happening to finish to its end. And let's just do that 2 more times together, breathing in deeply through your nose, if that's easy and accessible, and exhaling fully and completely through your mouth. And 1 more time, big deep inhale through the nose, and exhaling through the mouth. And then you can continue to breathe in this deep and intentional way, or just return to your natural breath. Perhaps notice the difference. When we breathe in this intentional, deep way, it actually has a scientific name. It's called prioritization. This is the cognitive skill of discernment, which is really just a fancy way of saying that it tells your brain what's important to think about versus what's not important to think about. So it's kind of like, have you ever tidied up the house before the cleaning lady comes? Often when I say that, I look out and all the women are nodding, and all the husbands have this, I've always been wondering about why she's doing that look. But the reason we do that is because it's really hard to clean when there's clutter everywhere. It's hard to think when there's clutter. So by breathing in this deep, intentional way, activating the prioritization for the brain, it's like tidying up the brain and allowing it to get ready to receive new information. So there's lots of little tips and tricks like this. You can kind of think about this the same way you do with any other parts of your daily hygiene. So you brush your teeth every day, you wash your face every day, you breathe deeply and activate the brain every day. Doesn't take long, pretty easy, but it can have a pretty big impact. And like I said, there's lots of things I can teach you, and I will, but the most important thing to know is that it's never too soon and it's never too late to begin. So my mom, she's 78, and she's down in Atlanta. That's where I was raised, and I love her, and I love to go visit with her. And I like to teach through telling stories. So you'll hear me talk about her, but growing up, she had a lot of sage wisdom for us. She taught us to make sure that our plate of food was colorful. Then we would know that it had lots of fruits and veggies. And she taught us to find exercise that we enjoyed. We'd be sure to do it a lot. And of course, she told us to go to church and have a strong spiritual life and close friends and, not to smoke and don't drink too much and don't do drugs, which, looking around, almost all of us remember the 1980s. Do you remember the 1980s? No. Okay, so for her it was the 1900s, but the rest of us remember the 80s. And that's right. So in the 1980s, there was a real popular commercial, which you probably all remember. There was that hot frying pan and then the egg. And it said, "This is your brain." Remember, the egg goes into the frying pan, and then it says, "This is your brain on drugs." So my mom's version of this was, you only get so many brain cells, don't fry them up. And it really worked. I mean, my sister and I were so scared we were going to fry our brain cells. We didn't do drugs. And all my mom's wisdom was right, except for that. So it turns out that just like the other organs and cells in our body, the brain can generate new cells too, called neurons, through a process called neurogenesis. And I remember where I was when I first heard that word, neurogenesis, and another word too, neuroplasticity. I was fascinated with this idea that we can change the structure of the brain. We can condition the brain to help us get what we want. We can change the brain. And I've spent the last almost 20 years studying in the fields of psychology and habit change through cognitive behavioral therapy, and more recently with the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation's program on brain longevity. So I've learned the research and the science too. But my goal has really been to help seniors, just like you and my mom, learn a fun, easy way to strengthen your brain so you can prevent memory loss and stay independent, because that's really what it's all about. So I like to take a holistic approach. When I use that word holistic in this case, what I mean is that I like to look for the cause, treat the cause, rather than just treating the symptoms. And usually when we treat the cause, the symptoms will take care of themselves. So when we think about the three main causes of age-related memory loss, the acronym that I use is HHBS. So hormones, hypertension, and brain shrinkage. So with the hormones, we all know that hormones change as we get older, and we're very susceptible to the dysregulation of a stress hormone called cortisol. And when that becomes dysregulated, it can cause a lot of inflammation in the body, aches and pains, and lots of other issues, but it can create a physiological stress that can then lead to cognitive decline. As far as the second H, the hypertension, think high blood pressure. And even if your blood pressure is being treated with medication, that's wonderful. That's treating the symptom, and that's good. But we also want to focus on treating the cause. And then the BS, not what you think. Hi. It's brain shrinkage. And so as we get older, it's just a very natural thing. The brain, the gray and white matter in the brain can tend to atrophy, and it can lead to cognitive decline. So there's a lot of research out there, and I think what I've been told is that you guys are privy to that and pretty well versed in the research that's out there, and you probably already know about the telomeres. But just in case there's anyone in here that doesn't know, I just want to tell you this one little thing, because this is where I'm super fascinated with this information right now. And then we'll move more into an experiential part of this practice. But as far as telomeres, if you can envision a brand new white shoelace, and you can imagine those two little protective caps on the end of the brand new white shoelace, those are the telomeres. And that's a good thing. And then the thick white part of the shoelace, that is a strand of chromosomes. So what happens is, as we get older, maybe older, sick, too stressed, too hurried, too worried, it can begin to disintegrate and deteriorate those little protective caps, those telomeres on the end of the shoelace. And when that happens, the chromosomes cannot divide properly, and it can lead to cellular aging. And sometimes you'll have a friend or know someone that gets a dementia diagnosis, and then things change quite quickly. And this is directly related to the telomeres. So when we start thinking about solutions for memory loss and preventing memory loss, we want to think about strengthening the telomeres. So let's think about solutions, right? We know what the problem is. So we can start with some holistic approaches: vitamins, supplements, diet, exercise, not drinking too much, not smoking, not doing drugs, the laundry list of things that also protect your heart and that also help your bones and joints. And there are also brain exercises. But research has shown us that word games and puzzles, while those are a lot of fun, they really don't prevent memory loss. I don't want anybody to stop playing the games because they're great for socialization and they're lots of fun, but they don't activate all the parts of the brain. There is an exercise that does activate those parts of the brain. And while that laundry list of things, the diet, exercise, and all those things, are good at addressing one or even two of those age-related causes, there's just one thing that will address all three of those, and that's meditation. And if you're like I was, when I first heard that word, I immediately thought of, someone, wearing a turban and chanting, maybe sitting in a strange position, levitating. But if that's what you envision too, then I would just suggest maybe open your mind to envisioning someone that looks like me, or envision someone that looks like you. My students live in a beautiful community up in the Asheville area, and they are getting an amazing result. So several of them have given permission for me to share their experiences. And my student Martha, after studying with me for just about 6 to 7 weeks, she comes to my weekly class, which is about a 45-minute practice, and then I send them a little email every Monday with a 10-minute meditation so they can practice on their own. So she came back and said, I'm able to remember people's names and faces a lot more clearly. And she told me that she's remembering things that she's talked about with people at social events more clearly. And then my student George, he doesn't come to class at all. He's the reason I started emailing the 10-minute meditation. So he came to a presentation like this, and then after the presentation, he came up to me and he said, I'm not coming to classes. I barely wanted to come to this. He's a sort of self-professed introvert. My dad was like that, I get it. He said, can you just send me something? So I did. And a few weeks later, he emails me and says, hey, this is really working. So I email him back, what's working about it? What's your experience? And he says, well, I haven't wanted to write for years. He was a short story writer, a hobbyist, but I really want to start writing again. Oh, okay, great. That's great for creativity. Do that. So he does, and a few weeks later, he emails me again. Hey, this is really working. Oh, George, why is it working? Well, now I'm connecting with other residents. They found out about my writing, and they want me to write their stories. And so this is one of the things, and I love hearing things like that, because yes, it's great for your brain, but if it can help you connect with other people, if it can improve the overall aspect of your life, this is good too. So for him to be able to connect with people in a genuine and authentic way is powerful. And I'll share one more client-student story with you, because I could go on and on. Jim is a student. He really struggles with neuropathy in his legs, does not get around very well, and the meditation is not going to help the neuropathy in his legs, or at least it hasn't yet, but it has changed his outlook on life. And so for Jim, it improved his motivation and has really got him back working with his physical therapist and his occupational therapist, which has then improved his strength and his balance, which has built his confidence to get back out and going down to dinner a lot more and being around people a lot more, which has built his motivation. And you see the cascading effect. And so these are powerful things. A bit subjective, but 10 minutes a day is worthwhile. I know you all are anxious to experience it because, we can talk about it till the cows come home, right? We can, like any activity, watch somebody swimming or talk about swimming, but until we just jump on in the water, we never really learn. I would just say, before we go through the experiential part, a lot of times I hear in the questions, people will say, well, I love to garden, or I love to woodwork, and that's a form of meditation, right? Or I pray. Is that a form of meditation? And what I would say back is those are wonderful things, and they can have a meditative impact. But a true meditation is more of a brain exercise. So similar to if you wanted to strengthen a muscle, like your biceps, you might lift a weight and build a stronger muscle. And then you would take that stronger muscle with you into your life. That's what we want to do with this meditation practice. And I'll guide you through it, but we want to strengthen this muscle of focused awareness and present moment awareness. And the more we practice, the easier it becomes. So with that, I'd love to invite you on a short mindfulness experience. And you can all leave your eyes open, or you can close your eyes. And I'll guide you through the whole thing. And we'll go for about 10 minutes, and you can just experience it. And as we kind of begin, I want you to just know that this is not religious in any way, and we're not trying to remove the thoughts from our head. Having thoughts is a really great part of being human. It would almost be like trying to take water out of a lake. It would not be a lake anymore, right? So we don't want to get rid of the thoughts. This is more about learning how to quiet the thoughts as if we're allowing the water in the lake to become still, and then we can see through it more clearly. So just come into a nice, comfortable, seated position. You can have your feet flat on the floor if that feels good for you. Just allow the spine to be long, chest open, shoulders relaxed. And just come back to that familiar, deep breathing. The inhale and the exhale that we practiced earlier. And just bring an awareness to where you are right now. Perhaps first, where you are here in this physical space, feeling supported by the chair beneath you, behind you, Noticing the sounds. Noticing the sound of the music. Sounds of other people, my voice. Notice the sound of your breath. Just know that you're safe here. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do. Nowhere to be. Just here, breathing. Then you could put one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Just beginning to connect to the heartbeat, to the inhale and the expansion of the belly and the heart. Noticing the contraction of the belly and the heart space with the exhale. Just allowing this feeling of your heart, this rhythm of your breath, to be a comfort. And then you can remain there with your hands on the belly and the heart, or you can just rest them in your lap or at your sides. Just noticing where you are mentally, emotionally, your physical body. Release the expectation for yourself to feel good all the time. Just breathing in, breathing out. As the thoughts come, as they surely will, just notice the thoughts. Perhaps meeting the thoughts with words of self-encouragement. If the thoughts are busy or doubting, you might just respond to yourself with, "This is your first time. You're doing a good job." Breathing in, breathing out. Then bring your awareness to the space between the brows. Just allow the space between the brows to soften, allowing the muscles around the eyes to soften. Releasing the jaw. Releasing the tongue from the top of the mouth. Allowing the neck to be long. Noticing the heart, space around the heart, the space behind the heart. Dropping the awareness to the ribs, to the space between the ribs, to the space around the ribs. Breathing in. Breathing out. Allowing each breath in to create space. Each exhale, a letting go. Dropping the awareness to the belly, to the whole pelvic region, the space around the belly, around the pelvic region, the low back. And guiding the awareness down the legs to the knees, to the shins, to the feet. Just noticing the whole body breathing. Breathing in deeply and breathing out slowly. Then, as we begin to come to a close, And begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Just noticing your breathing now. And you can stay resting your eyes for as long as you like. Or when you're ready, you can open your eyes, just giving yourself a moment to reacclimate to right now. And no matter how that experience was for you, I encourage you to be gentle with yourself. For some of us, we get very busy in life. Even if our bodies are still, our minds can be very busy. Television is a very good example of that. Too many messages coming too quickly. Sometimes coming into a still mind takes time to slow down, like jumping off a fast-moving train. Be easy with yourself. Be kind to yourself. I'm here to answer questions. Does anyone have questions? Yes.
Works. Hello, hello.
Thank you. Thank you for this. I would like to add one more, I guess, a comment. In addition to hormones, hypertension, and brain shrinkage, I would add type 2 diabetes. It increases your risk of dementia substantially, and it's something you can control with diet and medications. But thank you very much. This is very, very helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Type 2 diabetes does not run in the family. Type 2 diabetes can be prevented with remembering that type 1 and type 2 are not the same. Type 2 is a new disease. And yep, so that's more getting into nutrition and some other lifestyle preventable things. But thank you, yes, for adding that. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, my question is it better to have 7 days with 10 minutes each? As we have here, a meditation session twice a week for about 25 minutes that is wonderful that Larry interbits and leads. But what's the difference between slightly longer periods or having them more often?
This is such a great question. So I often get this question, and also the question of what kind of meditation. There's so many different kinds. And I always say that the best kind of meditation is the kind you are going to do. And I would recommend that if you're choosing between 2 longer sessions or a daily. Keep up the going to your meditation circle if you already have that, but incorporate a daily practice. It's short, but that will help you. That's going to only add to that weekly class, but a little bit every day. Just like think of it as your hygiene, your personal self-care. So a little bit every day is important. But if you know that you won't do it unless you go to that group, then you go on to the group. Okay? Mhm.
Well, thank you very much.
So, good. That's a really good question. I would just encourage that the goal, while meditation can be a great way to facilitate sleep, it's not the goal necessarily, and you would probably want to practice at a time when you're not most likely to fall asleep, if that's something you experience a lot. So maybe not right after the big meal. I would also say to think about it as, to look at it as, okay, where in my day do I have or do I want to carve out 10 minutes to make this a regular practice for myself? And whatever time of day that might be would be unique to each individual. I like to do it in the morning just because I find that I like to have a cup of coffee and wake up, otherwise I'll fall right back to sleep. And then I have a little time that I just have some gratitude and things like that. And then for me, that's a nice discipline. And I really do use that word with love. But I think that all of our self-care is also self-discipline. We're all old enough to know nobody's going to do that for us. You know, we're the only ones that can take care of ourselves in that way, or we're lucky enough to be, then we are. So I just put it first, and then it sets the tone for the day. And one other thing I might just add too, this is the cognitive coach in me, is to let go of this idea that we are supposed to be happy all the time. You know, it's a 50-50. All that stuff on TV, those commercials, they're really targeting us, aren't they, with all those pharmaceuticals and stuff? Just, it's okay to have the highs and the lows and ride that ride, you know? You guys are in a good community here, and you've got good support, and it's important to communicate and use your resources that you have here. What other questions? Yes. I like seeing the mix of, there's Carolina and Duke going on in here, huh? You guys are, because my son went to Carolina, and it was pouring rain when I was coming in, and I was like, I do not want to walk in here with this Carolina umbrella. And then I think I saw you come in first, and I thought, oh, okay, it's going to be okay. Because I root for both, you guys, okay? I root for both, but it's nice to.
So, hello?
Oh, okay. Yeah, or I forget.
Har, 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 har.
We've all been there. I personally find it easier to do these things in classes because then you become socialized with the people there, and you feel guilty if you don't show up. So
That's good.
I would just suggest to those of you who are thinking about you feeling silly about meditation, maybe you'll do it by yourself. That maybe that works, maybe that doesn't work. But for myself, doing it as a group would be better. And I say that as someone who has not taken advantage of the meditation classes we have here. But I think what you say is a good idea. And certainly the many of us who live with stresses of one sort or another, I could feel the stresses going down as we went through the exercise today. So, and I recognize that as being a valuable thing for myself personally. Thank you.
I love to hear that, and I bet there's someone here that is going to your regular classes that's going to remember that you might like some encouragement to join them now. And I think if that's a good thing to know about yourself, I used to be like that with my yoga practice. I wasn't doing it unless I was in class. And whatever way you can get to it is the way to get to it. So it's really good to know that about yourself. Yeah. Yes.
Larry?
Should we be reaching out to younger people? Do you mean, should we as educators about Yes. Yes, and in fact, yes, the reaching out to the younger people is something that is equally happening, and bringing this in a playful way into classrooms with young people. And it's interesting that you said that, as I was thinking about, it's not my, I love the little people, but my little people just flew right on out of the nest, and so I'm sort of savoring this time with no little people. And my husband and I are kind of like, we're the people that go in the restaurant, and we're like, we don't want to be with them. Don't put us in the kids section. We're good. But I think that in maybe 10 years from now, I'll get back to the little people. But there's a lot of people that are very drawn to educating the little people and educating the teachers, so they can incorporate this into their classrooms, especially for the children with ADD, which is another one of those where diet and nutrition, similar to the type 2, a lot can be done when we change what we're putting in our bodies. And then, since I'm going there, a lot of times people will ask me about that, and I would just say, rather than trying to follow like a diet or something, the best kind of blanket statement to it is to stay away from the processed foods. And it's just the easiest, so nothing has to be a 100%, but just as you're looking at things and you can make a choice between the two, just stay away from the processed foods. That will help a lot with mood and hormone regulation and everything, digestion. So I would love to see the little people coming here. I think that would be so cool to have some more little people and mixing with adult people. But
Larry? You want to announce when your classes are?
it's a good idea. Larry's going to announce when the classes happen here.
Our meditation classes here are at 11:30, and they occur on Monday and Thursday. And since it's forced into my hand, I would like to add, because it's come up in a number of ways, it is not either or. Either go to a class or practice at home. Everything that you've heard about today really is most beneficial if you have an at-home practice, and I say even if you start with 5 minutes a day.
Thank you very much.
Larry, what room do your meditation classes happen in?
It happens in the party room. Yeah, party room. After today, I don't know, we might have to book the auditorium.
And so in the classes, they're 45 minutes, right? At a 25, perfect. So 25 minutes in the party room at 11:30 on Mondays and Thursdays. And then will you be guiding people through it? So they're not just going to have to figure it out. There'll be some help and instruction. And you can't, it's not a pass-fail. You can't do it wrong. And even if you sit there and worry the whole time, you're still going to get a benefit, because you're going to be better than when you were running around worrying. So it's just like any activity. The The first time we pick up a book, nobody knows how to read the book the first time. You know, you practice, you learn, you build your skills, and you will too. You guys, honestly, I always tell students this because you're all senior to me, and I have a lot of respect for you, but you've already done things that are way harder than this. You wouldn't be sitting in this room right now if you didn't know how to weather a storm or do hard things. This is not hard like everything else you've been through. You can do this too. It's so good for you. It doesn't cost any money. Don't have to go anywhere. Don't need someone else to do it for you. You can do this. You can do this. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you so much. So Mandy just said she does have a handout. She's going to email it to me, and I'll get it to all of you. And if you're not on my email list, because my email list is basically everybody down in my area, the pool, the gym, and the Group X, but I'll get it to Emma somehow, or we can post it on Cubicle, something, okay? I will get it to you. Thank you so much.